Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on performing audits with excellence. We are grateful for each of you here. We would like to thank Ira for inviting us to do this webinar for you today. And in fact, this is going to be one of 3 upcoming webinars that we will have for you. More information about our second webinar, training webinar, will be coming out next week. We're looking at around the 1st of March for that. So stay tuned. We have more coming for you. This is really a great thing that we're grateful to be able to do for you, and we're excited to share it with you. A little bit about us as a company. We are made up of former law enforcement. We provide software and training and expertise in the law enforcement and public safety sectors, and we provide an evidence management platform, which is a software solution that allows you to be able to manage your evidence with efficiency, confidence, and integrity. This evidence management platform, the way we are now doing it, is actually brand new. And so we've had our evidence on cues software, but this platform allows you to do a lot more. But we've understood that there's a barrier to sometimes getting software for your agency. So we wanted to provide agencies to be able to do a lot more with a lot less. And so we're going to be sharing at the very end of this webinar a brief overview of what this platform is. It will be quick. It will give you an idea of what it is. But the great thing about this platform, it allows you to be able to get into a robust evidence management solution for your evidence, your digital evidence, and your found property at a low monthly subscription price. So stick around. We'll be sharing a little bit more of that at the end if you're interested. And also, when you exit the webinar today, there is a 4-question survey. We'd love to have you do that to let us know how we did, if we did an okay job. And also, if you're interested in this platform, it gives you an opportunity to let us know, and we can reach out to you and provide you the information you would like. Okay, all right, awesome. That's enough about us. I would like to pass this over to Kirsty really quick, and just for her to be able to share a little bit from Ira.
Well, hello there. I'm Kirsty Jones. I'm the president of Ira. We're so excited you're all with us this morning. This is our first training for 2021. Those of us, the Ira members, have a lot to look forward to this year. And as Craig mentioned, this is just the first of 3 property and evidence related webinars that we're doing with File on Cue. We've got a ton of other trainings planned for this year, including some more property and evidence training with State Patrol in March. We'll open up registration for this next webinar next week, so you'll be getting an email about that. And these webinars are free with File on Cue. We'd encourage you to join Ira. You will need Ira membership to get discounts on future trainings. Membership's just $50 a year, and you can join us at liirawa.org. And yeah, you'll be getting more information on future trainings. So thank you all so much for doing this. We're really excited to be working with File on Cue. And Craig, back to you.
All right, awesome, thank you. So a little bit of house cleaning here, just so everyone knows that you are muted. We have well over, I'm looking at the numbers that we're rolling in this morning, 70 agencies across the Pacific Northwest joining us today. So that's awesome. But because of that, you're all muted because it would be just chaos to have everyone talking. But we know you're going to have questions during the webinar. So through the GoToWebinar control panel, there's a questions tab, and if it's closed up on you, just click the triangle, it'll open up, and you can submit those questions at any time. We're gonna do our best to address those questions during the webinar today, but if it happens to start running long and there's just a lot of questions, we're gonna have to address those either via email or even potentially a phone call to get those questions answered for you. But submit them at any time, and we're gonna do our best to do that at the end of the webinar. All right, from here, I would love to introduce Shannon to you. Shannon has actually been with File on Cue since 2004, so she's been here a while now, and she has over 23 years of experience in the criminal justice system in Washington State. She actually began her career in 1981 working for a criminal defense law firm, and in 1984, she was hired by the Benton County Prosecutor's Office and spent 11 years there. She worked in several divisions with specializing in training and expertise in child victim forensic interviewing. And then Shannon spent the next 10 years as a police evidence technician and crime scene investigator. So she's very well versed. We're great to have her. She currently with File on Cue provides training and accreditation on rewriting policies and procedures and evidence room moves and assessing evidence-related procedures and doing demos and so much more. She's not just a specialist, she is actually a true guru, I have to say. So Shannon, I would love to just pass this over to you if you're ready on your end and get this going.
Thank you. I don't think
Mhm.
I've ever been called a guru, but
That's the first time for
I've been,
everything.
yeah, I suppose. Excuse me. Okay, so can you make me the presenter? Thank you so
Yep,
much.
it's on your way.
Alrighty, I'm getting there. Alrighty, dun dun dun. So thank you for the introduction and welcome to everybody. I'm glad that you could be here today. Just wanted to, here we go, review just a little bit about what Craig said. Um, I was just out of high school and I got a job working for a law firm. That's where they specialized in criminal law. One was on the district court panel, the other one was on the juvenile panel. And this is where I fell in love with criminal law and but didn't really like working for the dark side. So I jumped over to the light side and I worked for the Benton County Prosecutor's Office. Then I went to the Kennewick Police Department, spent 7 years there. And then I hopped over the river. I actually took the bridge, didn't hop, and spent 3 years at the Pasco Police Department. So as you can see, I've grown up in the criminal justice system. And, you know, I introduce myself like I'm at an AA meeting where I say, I'm Shannon Turner and I've been obsessed with evidence management for 27 years. So what I do now, when I was at the Pasco Police Department, Chief Austin tasked me with finding an evidence management system. Long story short, I saw evidence on Q and I fell in love with it. And it made sense out of madness. You know, there were 3 of us, me, myself, and I, and the 3 of us were incredibly busy. So my new evidence management system really helped me stay on top of things. And so I got to know the people at File and Q. And one day in 2004, they said, why don't you come to work for us? We, at the time, they didn't have anybody who had a background in law enforcement. And they wanted to be able to provide a lot more services to law enforcement agencies that were going to use the evidence on Q system. So what I do now is, yes, I help agencies implement evidence on Q, and I have done that 220, give or take a few times. I also, in the course of that, I train evidence staff and officers. I help agencies develop new policies and procedures because obviously, if you're going to implement a new evidence management system, it's going to change a lot of your procedures. And I also assist agencies who may be going through accreditation or re-accreditation or lost their accreditation. I've helped agencies move into new facilities. And I've also provided consulting services for agencies in crisis. And there have been a lot of crises. So that's who I am. Now, today we are going to cover audits. We're going to talk about, and I say audits, so exciting. I don't think you've ever gotten excited when you say the word audit. I used to actually, when I was at my police department, they're like, oh, we're going to have an audit. I would like break out into hives and start, you know, convulsing. So first of all, we're going to go through what really is an audit, some definitions. Let's talk about who should actually perform these audits because that's very important. We're going to talk about different types of audits. You probably didn't know that there were different types. And then we're going to address some of the common mistakes that are made through audits, and I'm going to give you some recommendations. Now, I realize we only have about 50 minutes, so I will either tell you half of what I know or talk twice as fast as I should. So let's jump in. Why would you do an audit of your property and evidence? Well, first of all, to document that your agency is utilizing industry standards. Documentation is so important. I was doing an analysis of some procedures that an agency was doing back in North Carolina, and as I was reading through some of the depositions and statements that were made by the people who worked at the agency, they asked them, had they ever done an audit? And they said, oh, yes, we did them every year. And they said, oh, could you provide documentation? Well, no, but we did them, you know. Okay. The next reason you would want to do an audit is to definitely establish that you are providing a good solid chain of custody for your evidence. And I know you think, well, duh. However, I have seen more than my fair share of agencies who do what I refer to as a piss poor job of documenting chain of custody. Another reason you want to do an audit is to ensure that your agency acknowledges that evidence management is important. I know I felt that same way, and I'm sure you probably feel like the redheaded stepchild in the basement that gets ignored. And when you have a process of doing an audit of your property and evidence room, it brings it to the top of the priority, list for your department. And also to maybe meet accreditation requirements. Now, I jumped in here and completely forgot about some of the questions that I wanted to ask you right off the bat. Oh, it's going to be one of those days. So, number
Hey, it's all
one,
right.
I know. Number one, first of all, I'd love to know kind of who I'm chatting with. I went down your names and agencies, but first, I would like to know how long you have worked in property and evidence. Not just at your agency, but if you went from one agency to another, give me a combined total of how long you've worked in property and evidence.
And what we're going to do, I see some people saying on the questions there, we're actually going to throw the poll up on the screen here for everyone,
Yep,
and you can
yep.
interact with that poll right on the screen. So I'm going to throw that first one up for
It's
everyone.
magical.
It's going to be magical. It's a great thing. Here we go, launching
Yeah.
that poll. So you should be able to click right on that, everyone, and give us your answers. I'll watch those as they come in. They're streaming in quickly. About 50% of you have replied. I'll let it go a little bit longer. So we're up to 70+% screaming in here. Okay. Some people are thinking about it. All right, so I'm going to actually close that poll out now and share those results with everyone. So closing the poll and share those results. So the majority are 2 to 5 years, Shannon. And then right
Ooh,
behind that is less than a year. Yeah,
wow.
we've got some seasoned veterans too in here.
Oh,
Wow, they've been
oh,
doing this a while. That's awesome.
okay. So thank you.
All right.
And then my next question, I want to jump right into another poll question is, have you ever gone through an audit of your property room?
All right, that poll's up for everyone. So you're coming in fast.
That's a simple yes, no.
Yeah, but some people still need to process like me. So
Yeah.
because I'm looking for that third option. All right, I'm
So
going to
do we
close that poll
actually,
out, and
do we see the
yeah,
results
go
of the
ahead.
poll? Do we actually
Yeah,
see the
we do.
results of them? Oh, maybe I'm just
Hmm.
not seeing it.
Yep. You might not be seeing you're in there, Shannon, but
That's okay.
I'll tell you.
That's okay.
All right. So I'm going to share those results with everyone. You should see those results. So Shannon, out of everyone, 87% said yes.
Oh,
13% said no.
cool. Okay.
Yep.
So let's go back to, I also want to go to my last question for right now. And we talked about why would you do an audit to meet accreditation requirements? Because accreditation standards say that you should have periodic and scheduled and random audits. So my next question is your agency accredited? Now, that's not a simple yes or no because there's different accreditation standards. So you've got CALIA, you've got IAPE, Washington, you've got WASPIC, or if you're from another state, just say yes, but it's through my state.
Okay, so those are up on the screen. People are processing in right now. 60% of you have come in. I'll let it go a little bit longer. There might be some discussions.
And these are things that usually if I teach at the class in person, I can have the hands and that kind of thing. It's a whole new world these last 12 months or so where we teach to an audience we can't see.
Yeah, it's crazy. All
I
right,
don't
I'm going
even
to
know if
share
you're
those
all wearing
results with everyone.
hats. I mean, geez. Okay, go ahead.
Well, so probably 5% of them aren't.
Yeah.
But yes, we have, is your agency accredited? So most say no,
Uh-huh.
52%, which actually isn't unusual.
Yeah.
And then 32% are through the state, and then 13% are through CALIA. Only
Okay.
3% are with IAPE.
Okay.
Okay,
I won't get
great.
on my soapbox and go into a long dissertation about accreditation. I do have some passionate feelings, but I won't go there. All right, let's keep going. Have you ever been to an IAPE class and you heard Joe Lotta tell us that the motto generally is the property room isn't a problem until it becomes a problem. And then it's a really big problem. So keeping that in mind, let's go through what is an audit. An audit, this is kind of my definition of an audit. It's an impartial review. And notice I put impartial in italics. We're going to come back to that. It's an impartial review of the policies, procedures, and actions of an agency to determine if it meets recognized standards and follows its own policies. Ooh, there's another one. So we're going to dissect this as we go further in our class today. So, oh, that didn't work very well. So I wanted to introduce this saying, what is an audit? And I was going to give you a hint. It's not an inventory. I think agencies interchange that definition. An audit is not an inventory, and an inventory is not an audit. So that's one of those fingernail on the chalkboards thing that personally bugs me when they use them interchangeably. There are three types of audits. The first is a basic audit. The next type is a procedural audit. And the last is called an organizational audit. So we're going to dissect each one of these. Let's start with a basic audit. This is going to basically just establish if you are meeting the legal requirements, the bare minimum. So really, this would be, are you complying with your statutes, legal requirements? Okay, now, because we're all from different, I think we're from what, Washington, Oregon, I think there's an Alaska in there. And as I have had the opportunity to travel from sea to shining sea and meet so many different agencies in the last 17 years, you would not believe how broad and varied the statutes are. So basically, without going into all the nitty gritty on that, things that you need to be aware of. Are you familiar with your statute on found property? Because it varies from state to state. Washington, when I last checked, it was 60 days. Oregon, I think it's 90 days. Now, what about finders who want to claim? So each jurisdiction has their own specific requirements for finders who want to claim found property. Everybody has different statute of limitations. You will be shocked to know that there are some states that there is no statute of limitation on felonies, period. Whether it's felony theft or felony whatever, there's zero statute of limitations. So imagine how long they have to keep their evidence on no suspect cases. And just really quickly, remember, statute of limitations applies to how long you have to charge somebody with a crime. Okay, once they have been charged, then the statute of limitations doesn't apply anymore. Okay, so agencies say, oh, well, we have to hold this evidence for the statute of limitations. No, you don't. You hold it for the statute of limitations if there's no suspect, but if someone has been charged and convicted or pled and they've served their time and they're out, say in a year, you do not have to hold this for the statute of limitations of 3 years, right? Make sense? Okay, we'll go on. If you have more questions about that, let me know. And then of course, DNA evidence. Now, when I started working in the criminal justice system, we did not even know how to spell DNA. It was blood typing. So DNA is something that has evolved, and each state is implementing new DNA rules and statutes that govern how long you have to hold DNA evidence. So I definitely recommend that you find out what your state has as far as guidelines for DNA evidence. And then, of course, sexual assault evidence. And that is very specific as well, especially with, rape kits and how long you have before they have to be tested and that type of thing. So this is just a very short list of certain legal requirements that you need to make yourself familiar with. All right. Now, that was a basic audit. We're going to go to a procedural audit. This one's my favorite. A procedural audit, first of all, it evaluates how effective and efficient you are in the use of your resources. It also includes your procedures and your management policies. So first thing could be, are you utilizing your storage space adequately? And I could go on forever with 1,000 slides of, are you utilizing your storage space adequately? So I'm going to ask you a quick question. In my opinion, this is not utilizing your storage space adequately. This is a picture of my property room when I first walked in. And as I evaluated this, I kind of realized, nope, I don't think we're adequately utilizing our storage space, especially when you look at like this tennis shoe and this stuff just sort of laying there haphazardly. Even if things were in boxes, look at all of this. I'm hoping you can see my mouse. Look at all of this space above these blue boxes. So I waved my magic wand after I got my evidence on queue system, and I reorganized and barcoded, and I utilized my space more efficiently, got more shelves, moved them up, and you can see that I think it's utilized a lot better. All right, going on with our procedural audit. It will kind of evaluate like your packaging and your containers. Are you using packaging that is protecting the evidence? Is it protecting you? And is it protecting your property room? Time management and efficiency. Are the job duties evenly distributed? And is there a duplication of work effort? So an example, there was a very large agency I went to. They had 37 people who work in property and evidence. They had, at any given time, they had about 6 to 8 people assigned to working the front counter. They had 3 people who did the intake every day, and they average about 300 items a day. They had 2 people who put evidence away, and those same 2 people, once they were done putting evidence away, they were in charge of pulling evidence, like for court or things that were okay to destroy or things like that. And then they had about 8 people who were on their destruction team. And as I looked at them, I was thinking, if there's only 2 people who are doing the intake and putting it all away, and then have to pull everything and pull it all for destruction, there's a big bottleneck, because these 8 people who are sitting on the other end waiting to destroy stuff are waiting on these 2 people to get everything pulled. Huge backlog. And the 6 or 7 people that were up working the front counter were generally playing on their phones most of the day. So I made a nice recommendation that maybe they allocate more people to actually be putting evidence away and pulling evidence for destruction. Your policies. Do you have written policies? And here's the key question, and are you following them? So many times I will ask an agency, well, do you have a policy that says this and this and this? And they'll say, well, yes, we're supposed to be doing that, indicating they're supposed to be, but they're not. In fact, I would remember I went to an agency down in a warm southern state. Lots of officers. They had 700 officers. And one of the things I like to do when I first go into a property room is I'll just do a quick report on their found property. So I did that, and they had over 4,000 items of found property going back years. And so I would just I looked at the money that they had, and I would sort of randomly grab them and look at them, and some of them actually had owners and addresses. And I said, well, this is like 4 years old. Why do you still have it? Well, in case the owner claims it. I said, well, did you send the owner a letter? Because the name and address is right here. And she's like, no. I said, well, why didn't you send a letter? We don't have a policy that says we have to. Whew, okay. So there's an example. Procedures. Do you have a procedures manual, and is it updated? Now, notice I listed policies and procedures separately because policies are not procedures, and procedures are not policies. Then documentation. So the documentation that you have for managing your evidence, whether it's in an evidence management system, that it's barcoded, it's a homemade system, it's paper documentation in Excel, do you have adequate documentation of the way you manage your evidence? So a procedural audit is going to look at all of these things. Now let's go to an organizational audit. An organizational audit actually looks more at like the structure of your agency, and it also looks at your plans, your strategic planning, your policies, your systems. So usually it's agency-wide. So looks at what your goals and strategic plan is. Maybe during an organizational audit, they may meet with the accreditation committee to find out, how they're doing. They'll also look at the organizational chart to look at how your agency is structured. So that brings me to another question. What division are you under? Your property and evidence division, what are you under?
Okay, I'm launching that poll right now for everyone. So what division is your evidence unit under? And you can interact with that. So people are waking up, I see out there, and
oh, good, yay.
giving the results. Yeah, and we got about 60% of them. So, and more are coming in. Let it go just a little bit longer, a few more. Looks like they're pulling in. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close that poll out, and I'm gonna share those results with everyone. So it looks like majority are under records unit, and then following that is going to be admin, and then investigations. The investigations at 14% and other is 10%, but 45% are records.
Okay. I was
right,
at my departments, I was under investigations because I also worked crime scene. So I think it really depends on your job duties. If you don't work crime scene, then you're probably under admin or records. But if you do work crime scene, I think it's more logical to be under investigations. So, all right, thank you. All right, preparation is the key. So be prepared and you will have a successful audit. First of all, if you have good daily practices, then it's going to help you be prepared for an audit. You won't have to scramble at the last minute. And having these random audits keep you on task. I never knew, I was a couple times a year, but I never knew when our IA captain was going to come in and say, spot audit, so if I had good habits and I did them on a daily basis, I never had to worry about if today was the day. So a few little tips. Curbside appearance counts. When you first, I can't tell you how many agencies I've walked into and go, wow, I'm impressed. And then others I walk in and go, holy wow. So I want you, I wish I could see your faces and have you give me your responses out loud. But what is your first impression of this property room right here?
It looks like my living room when I had little kids.
That's the one that I just kind of went, whew, wowzers. So you've heard of the stuff it method. If there's an open space, we stuff it there. Well, that's what this agency did. They just piled it in there. And I remember the girl who was showing me around, and she said, yeah, this stuff right here, there's a screwdriver that we can't find. We need it and to send it to the lab, and we can't find it. And I'm thinking, really? You can't find it? Imagine my surprise. So I said, what would you have to do if you had to find something on the shelf? She said, well, we'd just have to take everything off the shelf and look, find it, and then put it all back. Wow. Okay. Your evidence room should be organized, and it should be clean, and it should be safe for so many reasons. So when you look at this picture, what do you see? Here's what I see. First of all, I see a room that is filled to capacity. It goes from floor to ceiling. I also am looking up here at these boxes stacked on top of each other. Oh, I see a ladder. I hate ladders. I would have to climb to the top of the ladder, get the box that was like here. I would like balance it on my head or my shoulder, and then walk down. You know, that's an L&I waiting to happen. I also see maybe a violation of fire code. Look at this box way up here by the light. And see, here's the sprinkler system. I'm thinking that the fire marshal might not like that. If I were giving this room a letter, I would probably give it a D. So that's what I see. I hope you saw the same. Oh, well, there you go. Okay. When your property room is organized and clean, it saves you time. Because remember back at the screwdriver, how much time did they spend emptying that whole shelf off, not finding the screwdriver, and putting everything back? What a complete waste of time. And then when, of course, they were completely stressed out because they couldn't find the screwdriver. And we've all not been able to find something, and it, you know how it stresses you out when you can't find it. So when things are organized and you can go to something very easily and quickly and pull it and put it back, it saves you time and stress. Okay, so let's be prepared for your audit. Number one, clean out the junk. I realize this photo is dated by looking at the PCs. However, it's still so appropriate. This was an agency over on the west side, and I walked into her office, and this is her desk, and see the boxes under the desk. She couldn't even sit at her desk because it was so piled full of things. Is it neat and is it organized? And one thing too to be prepared for your audit is your documentation should be up to date. Now, way back in the 90s, when I first started managing evidence, we had all of our paper documentation, and then we would hand it off to somebody in records to update it in our old DOS-based system. And I was we were anywhere from 2 weeks to a month or more backlogged in getting it updated. So our computer system didn't accurately reflect the status of evidence because we were so backlogged. So everything should be up to date and filed. Simple things like just take a dust rag and dust it. So I took this picture in 2010 or 12, and this box was from 1996. These are really old cobwebs. I also remember I was at an extremely large agency in the South. They had over 2,000 officers, and I was looking around, and they had this old olive green refrigerator that had miscellaneous stuff in it, and on top of it was an old dead what I'm thinking might have been a marijuana plant, and it was tipped over, and the dirt was all over the top of the refrigerator. And I asked the lieutenant, what is this? He's like, oh, I don't know. And I said, have you ever actually thought of maybe cleaning up this dirt and throwing this away? Oh, yeah. But, just simple little things that make your curbside appearance so much better. Now, if you are accredited or you are going through accreditation, accreditation standards require that drugs, guns, money, and jewelry valuables be kept under separate lock and key from general evidence. Now, if you're a very small agency like Kirsty, you don't have separate rooms for all of that because you might have 3 guns and 2 things of money. And so separate lock and key, it can all be in the same room, but maybe this file cabinet is for our drugs and this file cabinet is for our guns, and then we have this little safe. This is a very nice agency in Colorado. A lot of agencies I have seen too have a 2-person rule for those, the drugs, guns, money, jewelry, where 2 people have to access those locations, and maybe even one has the key and the other one has the PIN, and they have to have 2 people to go into that area. And then they also may have an entry log about who went in and out. So now that you're cleaned up, spruced up, and you're ready to have an audit, let's talk about who performs the audit. So remember back at the beginning when we were defining it and I said impartial? A person who does not have supervision or responsibility in the evidence operation. So your audit should not be done by your sergeant or your captain or your coworker. They have a vested interest, right? They want it to be successful. So it could be a specific inspections unit if you're a larger agency. Maybe it could be internal affairs. Maybe you have a professional standards unit. Or I know that a lot of agencies have kind of a co-op with other local agencies where they will come do their audit for them. And that I think is a really great way to do it. And then some people hire, a professional outside person to come do an audit. It's important to document the audit. Like I said earlier, in this agency that said, oh yeah, we do audits every year, but they had 0 proof. So it doesn't do any good to have an audit if it isn't documented. All right, let's talk about different methods of going about performing this audit. So here's one method. It's a case file selection. So this auditor would actually go to records, or if you have files in your property room, they might just randomly select a case file. Now they're going to take this file, they're going to read through it and read the officer's report. How was it, collected, bagged, tagged, documented? Then they're going to trace it through the entire system to locate the item. So they'll look at the paperwork or the computer entry that was filled out by the officer, how was it logged into the property room, how was it assigned a storage location, look at the chain of custody for that item, has it gone in and out, and verify all the accuracy related to this item. And then eventually they will actually go to the shelf and find the item, compare the information on this item to validate all of the information that they just previously discovered. Okay. Now here's another method. And you should be using both, not either or. You should be using both methods. Another is random property selection. So your auditor might go in and randomly select some items. Focus on, guns, drugs, money, high value items. Nobody cares about the can of beer or the tennis shoe or the rock that everybody has in their property room. So then they'll pull the item they'll inspect the packaging. Was it packaged correctly? Is it following your own, policies and procedures? Is it documented correctly? Has it been signed with evidence tape, dated, sealed? Has it been tampered with? Have any rats chewed through it? You might be laughing, but definitely, I've seen many agencies where there was water damage due to hurricanes and floods. There was rodent damage and it was chewed up. So inspect the packaging. And then you're going to take that item and you're going to trace it backwards. So you're going to trace it to the computer. You're going to look at the computer and look at the documentation in the computer, who entered it, what changes have been made to the record. What is the security of your system? Does it document the date and the time, and every time someone makes a change? Is the chain of custody unalterable? Can anyone go back and manipulate that? They should not be able to. Then you're going to look at how it was booked into the property room. Then you're going to go back up to records and pull the case file, do like we did before, read the report, and make sure that everything is matching up. Okay, now we're going to go on. Let's look at some other items to audit. You're not going to just audit your active evidence. You're going to audit things that are pending destruction. You're also going to audit maybe things that are pending auction and things that were returned to the owner. So you're probably thinking, how on earth would I do that? First, let's take a look at maybe you could look at, say, show me a list of everything that was destroyed during this date range. And then you could look at that list and the auditor would look at the list and then decide, I want to look at this money and this and this and this. So first of all, they're going to look at who authorized the destruction or release of this item. And then, is there a destruction order? Now, in some states, you have to have an order for specific things. Just a little FYI, did you know that in California, anything that has been seized pursuant to a search warrant has to have a court order before you can dispose of it, release to owner, destroy, or anything. So when I'm helping California agencies, I make sure that we identify in their system, what came from a court order, or I'm sorry, a search warrant, so they know they have to have a court order. Who was the item released to? Was it released to the legal owner, the known owner? Was it a next of kin? What identification did they show? Did you document that identification? And then another on the items that were actually destroyed. Who witnessed the destruction? I can't tell you how many times I have gone to an agency and I'll just grab something and say, what does the computer show this location of, where this item is? And they'll pull it up and it says destroyed. No, it's not destroyed. I'm holding it in my hand. Well, it's gonna be destroyed. Okay, then why does it not say pending destruction? Don't ever, ever, ever mark something as destroyed until it is actually physically destroyed. I was actually just speaking with a friend of mine from California in the Stockton area, and she said that they can do destructions just kind of on their own. They can come in over the weekend and do destructions on their own. And I said, you don't have a witness? You aren't required to have a second person with you? And she said, nope. And I said, that's a little bit dangerous to do that. To keep everybody safe and have a good CYA policy, it really is important to have another person with you to ensure that something really was destroyed. And if you're a small agency, see if you can grab, a detective or an officer or, an FNG who's just out of the academy or somebody to come witness the destruction with you. Okay, just checking my time here. Okay. When you're doing an audit, it's important to verify that what you're looking at really is what the description says. I have a very sad story of a friend of mine and coworker who had a situation where they were going through CLIA accreditation and they were doing an audit of their money. And they saw this envelope and said, oh, okay, there's supposed to be $4,200 in here. And they opened it up and it was an empty paper bag. So they went to the computer and it was in a bank robbery, and there was an empty paper bag, there was the $4,200, there was a note that was given to the bank teller, there were a few other things like that. And so it was from many years ago, like 8, 9 years previously. And so they look at what had happened to the other evidence. Well, the note, the empty paper bag, and everything was destroyed, and then it said the money was still in the safe. Well, what happened was they actually put the wrong label on the wrong bag. The officer did initially, and they didn't have the evidence people verify the contents of the money or anything. So they just thought, oh, it's $4,200, and they put it in the safe. Well, remember what happened to the paper bag? It got put through the shredder. So that $4,200 got put through the shredder. Snap. I hate it when that happens, right? So the auditor will verify, evidence seals, dates, signatures, things like that when they're looking at packaging. If you have to break the seal of a package, of course, you must reseal the package, and then don't break an original seal if at all possible. I just taught that to someone who had been in property and evidence management for many, many years. And I said, well, you're not going to break their seal. You're going to slice it over here, open it up, and have your seal. And he looked at me like, wow, really? It made me a little frightened. All right. I have consulted with many of my friends who are independent auditors, and as well as my own experience. Here are some common problems that we commonly see when doing audits. First of all, there's inadequate physical security. So there aren't proper locks or alarms, and especially with guns, money, narcotics, and temp lockers. I could go into a lot of examples and pictures, but I'm running out of time. So no alarm coverage, and then poor access control. Also, and cameras, no cameras. There's an inherent lack of management support and understanding of working conditions. I was at an agency where they were going through some changes, and the captain in charge came over and actually spent a couple weeks there in property and evidence helping him go through these new changes. And he was astonished, appalled, and aghast, how's that, at some of the things that were going on. And I think it's very important to educate your management, your admin of the situations you encounter every day and the conditions in which you work. Another problem is unsafe working conditions. So overcrowding, definitely unsafe lifting, climbing, poor ladders, poor lighting. And just to show you a couple pictures. First of all, poor lighting. The only reason you see this light here at the beginning is because I had a flashlight and I was shining it down this aisle. They actually have flashlights at the end of each aisle so they could go down to pull their evidence. And then this one was their long guns, but look how dark it is. You can't see them. And the problem is because the lighting here above at the top is actually running the same direction as the shelves. So if you, if you switched your lighting and put it the opposite way, it would give you a lot better lighting. Again, climbing, don't like ladders, and lifting. So have you guys ever lifted a carpet, a rolled up carpet? Those things are heavy. So look at these rolled up carpets that were lifted on top of this, whatever it is, go-kart, dune buggy. And another one of my pet peeves is using floor space for storage. Floors are for walking, not for your evidence. So please get it up off the floor. Some more common problems that we see: lack of purging, and your administration's lack of understanding the time investment it takes to purge. You know, it's easy enough to log it in and get it on the shelf and get it stored, but it takes an act of Congress to get it out of our property room. And you know, the way Congress has been running lately, you know, nothing's ever going to come out of property, right? Another thing too is poor processing and packaging areas for officers. You know, are they packaging things in the report writing room where they're also eating their sandwich before they go on the shift? And then of course, bicycles, so many bicycles that aren't stored safely and are kept far too long. Again, as we discussed earlier, not having documentation of a history of your audits and your inventories and your inspections. Another problem we see is that policies and procedures manuals are not updated or they are non-existent, and that they don't have an effective evidence management system. In case you haven't looked at the calendar, we are living in 2021, okay? And it was only in 2010 when I walked into the San Diego Police Department. They have about 2,000 officers. And I look around and I said, where are the computers? And they said, oh, we don't have computers. It's all paper-based. And that's in 2010. So it is quite alarming, the number of agencies that are still just paper-based. So here are some suggestions I have for you. Review and update your policies and procedures manual regularly, annually. Maintain an accurate and professional job description. I was talking with an agency yesterday, and she was telling me about all her job duties. And I said, does your job description actually have all this information in it? She's like, oh, heck no. It doesn't even come close to what I actually do. And I said, you need to make sure that your job descriptions are accurate, because it definitely helps your agency acknowledge what you do, and it could even merit, you know, an upgrade or a reevaluation of your job description and job pay. And then the other thing is obtain professional training, and you get a little A and a star on your forehead because you're here today. Learn as much as you possibly can. When I walked into evidence and looked around, and the more I learned about evidence, the more I realized I have to learn about evidence. I'm working with a really large agency right now, and the lieutenant got put into property and evidence, and he has that deer in the headlights look on his face. He did not realize what had gotten himself into and how much there was to learn. So IAPE, the International Association of Property and Evidence, they have great website that has a lot of resources. CAPE, the California Association, Oregon Peace Officers Association, LIARA, and learn as much as you possibly can and get professional training to make sure that you are doing your job the right way. I was shocked at some of the things that I had been taught by my predecessor and that were so completely wrong. And I was mortified when I realized we were doing it the wrong way. So as you can see, like I said earlier, I have been obsessed with evidence management for 27 years now, and I want you to be able to do your job. I want to give you the tools, the knowledge, the power to be able to do your job well, and I want to be a resource for you. Please reach out anytime you have any question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. The thing that makes it stupid is not asking it. Okay, so please reach out and I'm happy to help. So with that, Craig, I finished with 4 minutes left, and I will turn it back over to you. I hope this was beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, and I want to throw it open. If you have a question on something you saw, or maybe something specific to your agency that wasn't addressed that you have a concern about, go ahead and put it in the questions area, and then we'll take you. We've got some thank yous coming in. We did have one question though, and about a copy of the slides. Yes, we can get everyone a copy of the slides. In fact, there'll be an email going out tomorrow. I'll include in that email a link to download a PDF version of what you've seen today. If that's okay with you, Shannon, I'm
Oh
assuming it
yeah.
is.
In fact, you know, you could, if you want to send me something that says, hey, we're redoing our officer packaging area, do you have some pictures of some good ones? I have thousands of pictures of drawing facility, drugs, narcotics, the packaging area, temp lockers, you name it. Reach out and I will share those with you.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And so along with that, do we have any additional questions out there? Lots of thank yous coming in. And in that email also, there will be a link to this presentation. So you actually get to watch the video again if you would like to.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I know, double. I get to see Shannon twice. And then let me see, we do have a question. Let me read this really quick. It says, our policy requires a monthly inspection. What type of documentation should we use for those inspections?
Does your policy, I'm curious if your policy just says inspection. Okay, inspection could be they walk in and look around and go, hey, doing a good job, thumbs up, and walk out. Or does that policy have a list of what that inspection is supposed to entail? If it does, if it doesn't, please make one. But then what I would do is I would make, just do up a form that has those criteria, and it lists the things that they're supposed to include in the inspection, and then either maybe have a rating, you know, like 1 through 5, or just have a place for notes that they can make for comments or recommendations. And then all of that should be kept with your professional standards. Don't keep it in property and evidence. Keep it with IA or professional standards or something like that. Keep that documentation. And then I definitely recommend that when they do the next month, that they bring the previous months with them. So if there were recommendations and things you had to do, you had homework, they can then follow up on what the tasks were that they suggested you improve upon. I hope that helps.
Okay. Yeah, I hope it does too. I'm going to keep moving through the questions
Yeah.
here, and we are welcome to stay as long as people like us to stay. But if people need to drop off, we understand too. So the next question is, it says, we are moving into a temporary quarters 3 shipping containers. Any suggestions?
Oh, so, okay. Moving into a
Temporary quarters.
temporary, oh, I
I
gotcha, I
think
gotcha.
shipping
So you,
containers.
yeah,
Yeah,
you've
going
got
in.
the shipping containers, right. Well, definitely in those shipping containers, I would have, even if you have to do just like gorilla shelves or whatever those things are called, but definitely have shelving. I've seen that. You have shelving that goes all the way down either side, and then have each shelf has a name. And I love boxes. I like to have box numbers and have items in boxes because they don't necessarily fall out of a box as easily as they might get accidentally pushed off a shelf. You're also going to need to, as you move it from its location now to that temporary location, you need to look at what is the security of it, who has access to it, is it inside a secure compound, is it, make sure you're not putting things in there that are sensitive to the climate, like DNA, that for, you know, moisture or heat or that type of thing. And let's see, off the top of my head, that's kind of what I can think of, but I would love it if you would reach out to me and let's dissect this project in more detail, because you'll need to document how you're moving it and who's involved and what security you had and how you're going to document the new location. So please reach out to me and let me help you.
Awesome. Yeah. And we do have people that are asking for your information, Shannon. I will include that follow-up email, which will
Okay.
go out tomorrow
Oh, it's
with
so
the links
nice
we've
to
talked
feel
about.
loved.
You are. You're going to get a lot of love, I think.
Good.
So a number of people are asking for that. And I did have a
Okay.
question too. They were asking where a good sample of policies and procedures manuals are. I
Mm-hmm.
do know that there's some great ones on the IEP website that have been
Yes.
done by various agencies.
Mm-hmm.
So I will go out and research a few of those for everyone. Also provide a link to where you can find them, and also
Mm-hmm.
provide a few that I know are good to
Yeah.
everyone in the email that goes out tomorrow.
Yeah, there's wonderful procedures manuals and examples and stuff there on the IAPE site.
Yeah, it
And
really is good
Craig,
stuff. Uh,
if I can jump in,
Go ahead.
EPIN
Sure.
as well, the Evidence and Property Information Network, for those of you that are members, they have some good samples. They've done training with LIARA before, so I'll put their contact information in as well. I personally found their sample procedure manual really helpful for training officers and how to package things correctly.
That's great. Fantastic. Good stuff. Another question was, is how can we find auditors to conduct a property and evidence room audit?
Mm. I have a list of people that I could put you in touch with who are they are professional auditors who had a background in law enforcement. And then you could also just network. Maybe if your chief goes to the annual or the monthly chief and sheriff's meeting or something, he could say, do you guys have an inspections unit or IA who likes to do a little, cooperative agreement with other local agencies that they'll do their audits for them. So if you want to send me an email, I can send you a list of the professional auditors, and then you can also do it that other way as well.
Okay, great. That looks like it's it for most of the
Okay.
questions, at least all the questions that I'm
Yeah.
seeing here. So I think we've got them all. I'll just jump in. It's going to take me just a minute or two. I know some of you that may be interested in our software solution and our new evidence management platform that we've just released. A little bit about what this is. This evidence management platform includes all three of these solutions, which is your evidence, your digital evidence, and your found property, which is all we always know is a struggle to get back to the owners. And this solution helps not only allow you to get it back more easily to them, but for them to be able to claim it right through their smartphone. It's pretty cool. So there's a lot more to it than that. They can also be able to complete victim reports through their phone or their computer with this and much more. And all three of these solutions are fully integrated together so they communicate and talk. So you're basically you're going to one place to do a lot of things. It's very, very powerful. What's included with this platform is all additional modules, all of your maintenance support, all of your ongoing training, like we've done today. We'll provide additional training as you need it. Your lifetime peripheral hardware warranties and all upgrades. You don't have to pay for an upgrade down the road. If a new product comes out, you just get it. And we know that a lot of you have an RMS system. You may be using the evidence module. You may not be using the evidence module, but if you need integration or data to be shared, this is also included with this. And all of this is included for a low monthly subscription price. So if you're interested in this or it's caught your attention and you want a demo on it, just give us a reply at the end of this webinar. There's a survey you can complete, and we'll be able to go through even how we can do an audit with the system. And you can get to see how that works. We're doing an inventory and so much more. So it's very powerful, and let us know if that's something you would be interested in. Shannon, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. I need to
Okay.
hop in my car and run over to the San Francisco Police Department. So I
All
just want to
right.
tell you all, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your feedback. Please reach out to me. I am happy to help. Okay?
All right. Great, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar in about a month. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Webinar. Oops, leave webinar.
And Shannon and Craig, thank you both so much. Really enjoyed it,
You're
learned
welcome.
a lot. And Shannon, I can